Good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. I'd like to welcome you to a review of Marketing Chapter 18. This is creating a competitive advantage. Before I do that, I would like to let you know that this is for review, educational, and informational purposes. The full credit goes to the publisher, Cutler and Armstrong. Okay? Now, with that out of the way, let's present Chapter 18. In previous chapters, you explored the basics of marketing. You learned the aim of marketing is to create value for customers in order to capture value from them in return. Now, good marketing companies win, keep, and grow customers by understanding customer needs, designing customer-driven marketing strategies, constructing value-driven marketing strategies, and building customer marketing partner relationships. Okay. In our final three chapters, we will extend the concept of three special areas. First one is creating competitive advantage. And this is an advantage that we have over our competition. The next one is called global marketing. And the third one is social and environmental marketing sustainability. In this chapter, we put all the marketing bases together, understanding customers, an important first step in developing predictable customer relationship. But it's not enough to gain competitive advantage. But companies must use the understanding of design marketing offers to deliver more value to the offers of competitors seeking the same customers. So there's competition here. How are we going to compete? In this chapter, look at competitor analysis. Okay. Now, that's the process the companies use to identify and analyze competitors. Then we examine competitive marketing strategies by which companies position themselves against competitors to gain the greatest possible competitive advantage. So that's positioning. Now, we have a case example by a Korean company by the name of Hyundai. Okay. Now, Hyundai is a car maker. Now, during the Great Recession 2008, the battered automobile industry, that is, most car companies slashed their marketing budgets and battened down the hatches to weather the economic storm. But one company, Hyundai, did just the opposite. It increased the marketing spending as rivals were cutting back. And it found just the right value proposition for the changing economic times and marketplace. You notice it says the right value proposition. Right value proposition. So that is according to changing economic times and marketplace. Here we have a case example about Hyundai hitting the accelerator when competitors throttle down, and that refers to marketing budgets. One thing, they found a way to do that, which I'll have you read about it, but I will give you some tips in terms of marketing is concerned. One thing you don't want to do is lose contact with your customers. So, whether it's a general marketing campaign or whether it's a targeted campaign for existing customers, we need to stay in touch with the customers so they can remember our value proposition. Okay? And they need to know how we differentiate ourselves in the market. Okay? Those are two things we need to do. So the idea is we want to keep our marketing spending up, at least to a level where the company is in touch and they keep the relationship with our customers. Now, there's different ways to adapt. Basically, that's what it is. Now, I'll have you read that. I did already read that, so I'll have you read that on your own, and you'll be able to understand specific methodology. But just understand that's how they were different than the competition because they actually increased their budget, especially compared to the competition who decreased their budget. So now there's one saying in marketing: the person who spends more on marketing wins. It's basically the equivalent would be looking at it as an investment. Okay, we need to invest. Whenever we invest, the idea is we're investing because we want to get a return. I know one thing: you cannot get a return without investing. So you have to see it like a seed that you're planting. You're investing, and over time you will get an investment. So, and because now they're advertising less, that's basically like them saying, "Well, we don't want to be as well known anymore." Now, let's talk about the three objectives for this chapter. Now, this isn't a particularly long chapter, but it's something you need to think about. Now, I'm going to give you a pro tip here. The pro tip is when you're reading or you're listening to something, you always want to be critically thinking and thinking about what is being said. Because don't think about what's being said. It's like a person who wants to see something but is not looking. And always need to search and you will find. How do you search? You search by thinking, actively listening, actively paying attention. And then in the process of which you are thinking about what is coming in. Okay. Now the main idea is you need to know the subject area. In terms of you need to remember and know things, but in the end, the main thing is you need to understand things, then apply it for the maximum benefit. But to best understand it, and especially in a faster way, is you need to think about what's being said. This is my pro tip for learning. Right, now, we have three objectives I'd like to discuss. First one is to discuss the need to understand competitors as well as customers through competitor analysis. Okay, so what do we need to do? Understand competitors. Remember, I told you about understanding? Understand competitors as well as customers through competitor analysis. That is the competitor analysis. For objective number 2, we need to be able to explain the fundamentals of competitive marketing strategies based upon creating value for customers. That is the competitive strategies. And for the third objective, we need to be able to illustrate the need for balancing customer and competitor orientation in becoming a truly market-centered organization. So in other words, we need to understand balancing customer and competitor orientations. This is a relatively shorter chapter, but there's a lot of meat to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off for definition of purpose of definition, that is these three terms. Now, just in case the text is too small, I will make it a little bit bigger. Now, Let's start off with talking about competitive advantage. It is something that marketing and strategic business management will talk about. That is the advantage over companies gained by offering consumers a greater value than your competitors do. Now, in terms of competitor analysis, that's the process of identifying key competitors, assessing their objectives, strategies, strengths, and weaknesses, and reaction patterns, and selecting which competitors to attack or avoid. For the third one, you have competitive marketing strategies. That is strategies that strongly position the company against competitors and give the company the strongest possible strategic advantage. It's about positioning. Okay? All right. Let's talk more in depth about. Excuse me. Now that we've defined these three terms, let's talk more about competitor analysis because we already talked about competitive advantage, delivering more value and satisfaction to a target customers than their competitors do. So remember, we want to put this in the context of competitive marketing strategies. That is, how companies analyze their competition and develop successful customer value based strategies for building and maintaining profitable customer relationships. Remember from the previous chapters, the idea isn't just to not advertise to everybody. The idea isn't just to have every person as your customer, because we need to have profitable customer relationships. If that one customer is not profitable, we will not continue the relationship. The analogy is kind of like a person who has a credit card, who hardly ever uses it, and the company says, well, we're closing your account because for inactivity. Or we're closing your account because you hardly ever carry a balance. See, because they need to think strategically about profitable customer relationships, basically firing their customers. Okay? Now, from a strategic standpoint, it makes sense. Now, there is what we don't see. Now, you would say, what it doesn't make sense to get rid of a customer. What you don't see is a calculation of how much money is made per customer versus how much it costs in the overall cost of maintaining that customer. Expenses such as administrative costs and other related costs that we can't foresee, nor are we privy to, because that is something that's confidential, proprietary for that company. Now, let's talk more about competitive marketing strategies. Remember, we need to understand with competitive marketing strategies that our purpose is to strongly position the company against competitors and give the greatest possible competitive advantage. Don't forget those ideas there. Okay? I just said it, but I just want to make sure you remember it. Now, let's talk more in depth about competitor analysis. To plan effective marketing strategies, companies to find out all it can about its competitors. It must constantly compare its marketing strategies, product, price, channels, and promotion to all those of your current competitors. Remember the 4 P's? Product, price, place, promotion. Okay? Those are your 4 P's. Now, basically, there's a variation of one of those P's. So when you look at that, what did they say? Products, prices, channels. That's a type of place. That's where business is going to be transacted. Either through a value chain, if we want to look at it from a value point standpoint, I want to look at it from a value chain management. Sorry, excuse me. Supply chain management, that's your channels. And then, of course, our promotions. All right. And this way, the company may find areas of potential competitive advantage and disadvantage. That is basically what we do better or what we do worse. That's basically our strengths and our weaknesses compared to the threats, compared to the strengths and weaknesses of our competitors. The competitor would be threats, and the difference between the advantages and disadvantages are opportunities. Now, competitor analysis involves first identifying and assessing competitors. What are their strengths and weaknesses? What opportunity was created in between for them compared to you, and especially for you? Your strengths and weaknesses compared to your competition's strengths and weaknesses. Now, first we want to identify who our competitors are. Normally, identifying competitors should seem to be a simple task. At a narrower level, a company is defining its competitors as other companies offer similar products and services to the same customers at similar prices, especially offering similar products and services. Thus, Abercrombie and Fitch might see the Gap as a major competitor, but not Macy's or Target. As you know, those are different niches. That is a different niche than a high-end niche. The Ritz-Carlton might see the Four Seasons as a major competitor, but not Holiday Inn and Hampton. Again, those are different niches, therefore they're not competitors. However, companies actually face a much wider range of competitors. The company might define its competitors as firms with the same product or class of products. Thus, Ritz-Carlton would see itself as competing against other hotels. Even more broadly, competitors might include all companies making products that supply the same service. Now, when we want to analyze competitors, there's three main steps we need to consider. Number one, we need to identify the company's excuse me. We need to identify the company's competitors. So first, when we analyze the competitors, we need to find out who are the competitors, which is identifying the company's competitors. Mm-hmm. First, we need to identify the company's competitors. In other words, who are your competitors? Number two, we need to assess the competitors' objectives, strategies, strengths, weaknesses, and reaction patterns. When we talk about reaction patterns, we talk about what happens what do they do when their competition does something else, does something, such as reduce price, increase promotions, or whatever. How do they respond to their competitors' actions? Also, objective, what are they trying to do? Strategies, what is the general course of action they're taking? Strengths, what are they good at? Weaknesses, what are they not good at? And the third thing they need to consider is selecting which competitors to attack or avoid. For example, you would attack a competitor who is weaker in an area than you are, where you can pick up market share. Or you would avoid attacking them if you're trying to use a tactic that they're better at than you. So reducing the price, loss leader, is a tactic. Fulfill the overall goal, which is your objective. Now here the Ritz-Carlton would see itself competing not only against other hotels, but also against anyone who supplies rooms for weary travelers. Finally, and still more broadly, competitors might also include all companies that compete for the same consumer dollars. Here the Ritz-Carlton could see itself competing with travel and leisure services, from cruises and summer homes and vacations abroad. But this would be, if they did this, would be a misnomer because these are not the same niche, the same general industry. Okay, traveling industry. In the in the travel industry, we have different sectors, okay, or otherwise known as segments. We have different segments. Each segment are different types of travel services. One could be air travel, one could be boat travel, and also you can also look at it's not even so we have for example travel or vacation, travel slash vacation, which can include both. But technically it's a different even a different segment. Because one, for example, is travel transportation. Right? So all the airlines are the same segment. Right? Uh, yeah, so it's airlines, high end or low end, discount or non-discount. That's different niches. And then the other segment, for example, is cruises. Different types of travel is its own segment. Then you have your hotels. So if you want to combine transportation and travel, let's say travel and vacation, combine them into one, you're going to get quite a variety. We're going to get all the different types of travel and all the different types of accommodations. These are not competitors. You see, even among the hotels or transportation, even among the transportation, right, the travel segments. So you have cruises and airlines. Those are different segments. Uh, not really, again, not really competitors because they're different segments. So first thing to be a competitor, you need to be in the same segment. Second of all, you need to be in the same niche because you can't compare a cruise like a boat transportation, a cruise, to an airline. First of all, they have different purposes and different value propositions. The idea with competitors is they're offering a very similar value proposition. Okay? The service is not the same at all. And the value proposition to the customer is not at all the same. These are different demographics of people. And whenever you have different demographics of people, you are dealing with people who are not in the same niche, and as a result, they are not competitors. Meaning they're not competing for the same business. To the contrary, actually what happens is it can be a mutually beneficial arrangement. Just like they talked about Walmart and McDonald's. Yes, Walmart and McDonald's both sell food, but it's a different niche for food. And they can use each other to get both as a symbiotic relationship where they're both going to benefit. And also, when I say both going to benefit, I say both are going to get business. Now, basically, what they do is they say, okay, in this travel package, we have airline and we have hotel. When people travel, they need both. It's not one or, see, if there's competition, it would be one or the other, not one and the other. Different niches are not competitors. And even if it was a hotel, they're not really competing because they're not in the same niche. High end and low end are different demographics. Now, if it was exactly the same demographics, that would be different. It's not the same demographics. So that is the real test. Or is it the same demographics of people that are competing both in the hotels and both for the airlines? If the answer is yes, then they're competitors. But if not, see, they're even, first of all, the buying patterns are different because they're in different demographics. And because of that, the targeted marketing strategies have to be different because it's a different types of people with different habits and different value propositions. So keep that in mind. What you get from this misnomer is something called competitor myopia. Now, let me explain what competitor myopia is. A company is more likely to be buried by its latent competitors than its current ones. For example, it wasn't direct competitors. See, they're not direct competitors. For example, high-end hotel, low-end competitor hotel. Those are indirect, not direct. So it wasn't direct competitors that put an end to Western Union's telegram business after 161 years. It was cell phones and the internet. Music superstore Tower Records didn't go bankrupt at the hands of other traditional music stores. It fell victim to unexpected competitors such as Best Buy, Walmart, and iTunes, and other digital download services. Another classic example of competitor myopia is the United States Postal Service. Now, the USPS is losing money at a mind-boggling rate, billions of dollars per year, but it's not direct competitor with FedEx or UPS. They're the problem. Technically, they're competitors, but it's uh, not exactly. Okay, close to being direct, but you could say it's close enough to be direct, but not exactly. Instead, it's a competitor that UPS has hardly ever imagined a decade and a half ago. The soaring use of personal and business email in online transactions, what USPS calls electronic diversion, as internet users a surge in personal business letter mail has plunged. Last year alone, USPS delivered an eye-popping 25.6 billion fewer mail pieces compared with the previous year. That's a billion. USPS's response: proposed increase in postage stamp prices and a reduction from 5-day delivery to 3-day delivery moves almost that will almost certainly reduce mail volume further. The solution? The author says, when I figure it out, I'll email you. So there's another reason why, if you think about it for a moment, why is FedEx, DHL, if DHL is still in business, FedEx, UPS, and DHL, if they're still in business, why are they not competitors to the USPS? Okay, now, because they have a mutually beneficial relationship. What actually happens is the USPS actually benefits from it because you get some companies that will outsource some of their business to the USPS because maybe they, in some situations where they have too much volume for something, or they have different priorities for different things, well, they'll outsource it to USPS. And if USPS was a competitor, would they be outsourcing them? See, what's really taken away their business, as they said before, is a better technology. Right? But it's kind of like the idea of cars and airplanes. An airplane is faster than a car, a lot faster. But will the car go away? It has its own niche. Just like you don't fly an airplane on the highway, you don't drive a car in the air. So that's different. Now, as this was published in 2012, so You have to consider the technology at the time and the demand at the time. What's coming up in the next few years is something called air taxis. And these are called vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, where it looks like a car, but it has wings and can do a vertical takeoff and transport people back and forth. Right? So, excuse me. Now, if anything's going to be a competitor, it would be the tax. If we look at the same industry, see, first things first. We need to be in the same industry. Okay, fine. They're in the shipping business, shipping industry. Okay, but can you come? For example, if we say shipping industry, well, we have different segments. Can we come? How is the person who ships by boat? Are they in competition with the person who does ground delivery? What about the air delivery? Are they the airplanes that ship? Are they in competition with the ground delivery? No. These have different limitations and purposes, and they have different cost structures associated with them. So they're not really competitors. In fact, based upon the supply chain, the logistics chain as well, it is something that's mutually beneficial. For example, a company doesn't have enough capability to send something over. What will they do? They'll outsource. So they'll take half of the route themselves and they'll outsource it to someone else. This also happened. I'm just going to give you some examples. Shipping industry. Okay, travel industry. Okay. Let's say you're going to another country. Okay? This is even a more extreme example, but let's say you're going to another country. Let's say that airplane, that airline company, they don't cover. They outsource the servicing of the route to another company. Are they competitors? No. Okay, how about this? Here's another, and here's one more idea. Because I want you to see this from point A to point B. Okay, start of the route. It's like in logistics. Think of it like logistics, right? We need to go from A to D. How do we do it? Well, we start with what it is in the beginning and how we get to the end. So let's say we start off. Let's say I'm in a sparsely populated state. I don't have a major city. I can't fly internationally. So I take a small airplane to a major city. Okay? Now, is that airline in competition with the big airline? No, because they don't have capability. It's not part of their value prop. See, all this stuff, we're looking surface level, but in the end, we need to look even deeper and look at what our aim really is. That's our value proposition. What value are we trying to accomplish? The reason why I mention that is just like a car. You have your high end and your low end. Are they in competition? No. So you have your discount airlines and you have your regular airlines. Are they in competition? No, different niche. What airlines do when they're clever and they're organized, they'll say, okay, both of us want both of us want to make money. We see there's an opportunity to go from point A to D. Okay, I can't cover A to B. You cover A to B, I'll cover B to C and C to D. See? Are they in competition? No. Same thing with the postal service. Okay? Some of these companies don't service letters. They only do packages. See this? And then they say, okay, well, they can put a letter in a package, but it's cheaper to do by letter. So what they'll do is they say, okay, he only wants to do it this way. It's cheaper if we outsource. They're using each other to mutually as a symbiotic relationship to both be mutually beneficial. You understand what I'm saying? I'm almost being redundant when I say this. But see, the point is they're not competitors. That's the difference between an indirect and a direct. Even if they seem to be in the same niche, they're not really in the same niche. How do you know? You look to see if they're doing the same thing. Also, are they offering the same product or service? And we want to look at the niche. What value proposition are they offering? If they're offering a different value proposition that is a different niche, therefore, they're not competitors. Hopefully that's clear. Now, companies can identify their competitors from an industry point of view, like I told you before. So first thing is you look at the industry. They might see themselves as being an oil industry, pharmaceutical industry, beverage industry. A company must understand the competitive patterns in this industry. It hopes to be an effective player in that industry. Companies must also identify competitors from a market point of view. That is, here they define competitors as companies that are trying to satisfy some customer need or build a relationship with the same customer group. How do you do that? You do it through presenting your value proposition. That's a strategic way to do it. From an industry point of view, Pepsi might see its competition as Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, 7 Up, the makers of the other soft drink brands. From a market point of view, however, the customer really wants just thirst quenching. That need that can be satisfied by bottled water, energy drinks, fruit juice, iced tea, and other fluids. Similarly, Hallmark's Crayola crayons can be defined as competitors as any other makers of crayons and children's drawing supplies. But from a market point of view, it can include all firms making recreational and educational products for children. See, the problem with that theory is that they're not providing the same value proposition. Let's take the example with the thirst quenching the drinks. You think that you have the same demographics of people who drink tea, iced tea, that also drink soda? No. Okay, how about this? Crayons. People who have markers, drawing markers. You think it's the same people? Maybe, maybe not. What you need to do is you need to look at people who make the same thing. Crayons with crayons, pens with pens, computers with computers. See, part of its value proposition is the same, but the actual product itself also, that's the other component, needs to be the same. Okay, just like you can't compare pens to pencils. Are they competitors? The companies that make them are competitors. No. See, just like iced tea and soda is not competitors. Okay? How about water? You think the same people who only drink water that are the same people who drink soda? No. Or iced tea? Probably not. See, these are not competitors. In general, market concept of competition opens the company's eyes to a broader set of actual and potential competitors. The actual or the direct competition. The potential is the indirect. Um, Now, let's assess the competitors. Having identified the main competitors, marketing management now asks, what are the competitors' objectives? Meaning, what are they trying to accomplish? What does each seek in the marketplace? What is each competitor's strategy? What are the various competitors' strengths and weaknesses? And how will each react to each actions the company will take? Next, we need to determine the so we need to for assessing competitors. We look at those major criteria. First one is determining the competitor's objectives. Now, when we do that, we need to understand that each competitor has a mix of objectives. Let me explain what I mean by that. The company wants to know the relative importance of each competitor's places on current profitability, market share growth, cash flow, technological leadership, service leadership, and other goals. Now, the reason why these objectives are slightly different is because depending on where they are in the market and the product life cycle, whatever they're offering to the market, will depend on what their value proposition is going to be. And its positioning. When I say value proposition, I'm really referring to more the positioning, the tactical instruments. So, are we positioning ourselves as a low cost? Or are we positioning ourselves as something of more value? And that's where we have to consider the value proposition. Now, knowing a competitor's mix of objective reveals whether the competitor is satisfied with the current situation and how it might react to different competitors' actions, as we mentioned before. For example, a company might pursue low-cost leadership, but react more strongly if competitors' cost-reducing manufacturing breakthrough than the same competitors' advertising increase. There's a reason for that. First reason is because you can't compare an internal action to an external action. Internal action would refer to the advertising increase. Okay, so it's internal action versus your competitor's internal action. But if we take an internal action, such as the advertising competitors, or you could say advertising revenue, advertising increase, or in general, right? You're comparing advertising increase to manufacturing cost. Those are apples and oranges. You can't compare those two. Number one, because they're not the same thing, and number two, because one involves an internal action and the other one involves an external action. Well, technically, cost-cutting manufacturing breakthrough is internal. Advertising increase can be internal. I guess technically it can be internal and external. But if we're talking about in reaction to, that would be an external response. So response to competitors it becomes internal and it ends up being external because it's a response to your competition. So anything done in reaction to what anything is outside of your company is external. Anything that's done only deals with inside of the company, that's internal. Therefore, you cannot compare criteria, actions, and tactics of internal versus external. You basically have to say, okay, in terms of our strategies, are we comparing our cost-cutting manufacturing breakthrough compared to theirs? Okay, that's apples and apples. Are we comparing our advertising increase to their advertising increase? That's external. That's oranges to oranges. That's external to external. Do you understand? Okay. Because technically, what happens is a company initiates a difference in action, initiates, for example, a difference in the market where they either increasing or decreasing something, and the competitor's reaction is to do the same thing but either more or less, depending. For example, if it's price, you have a price war. If it's manufacturing breakthrough, it's also innovation. It's also improved processes for project management, and that would be internal to internal versus external to external. That would make sense, but if you're comparing internal to external, it doesn't make sense. You can't compare. Now, a company must also monitor its competitors' objectives for various segments. Now that you can compare, because objective to objective, as long as you're in the same segment, that would be like saying, well, I'm comparing my truck objectives for my trucks compared to objectives to your compact car. It's not the same value proposition. You can't compare. Not only that, but to prove it, to prove that they're not competitors, you look at the demographics. See, demographics will tell you everything about who's competitors, who is who's a targeted in their marketing and who's not. See what I'm saying? Because you're not targeting all demographics. It's only a certain targeted demographics. Okay? Okay. Now, if they have a competition where they share the same, or especially multiple of the same segments, then we have even more to talk about. Depending on, especially when we talk about a bad economy and their reaction to. So, what is their reaction to? Is it reaction to the competition, or is it which is threats, or is it a reaction to the environment, which is opportunities? Which one is it? You can't compare opportunities to threats because opportunities um, are cause an action by a company versus threats. Threat is basically just to indicate that there's competition. It's not the same thing. Opportunities and threats are not the same thing. Okay? Now, a company must also monitor its competitors' objectives for various segments, as I just said. If the company finds that competitors discovered a new segment, this will be an opportunity. It finds that competitors plan new moves into segments served by the company. It will be forewarned and hopefully forearmed. Now, here's an example: is we say all EV vehicles. Not even that, because technically EV is its own niche. Um, a van, compact SUV. Let's say SUV. So some from smallest to largest. Let's say compact SUV, van, truck, and then like tractor trailer. Those are different segments. So suppose we enter a new segment. Into a new segment, either they created a new segment. This is a completely new product, such as flying taxis. Okay, that would be its own segment. What kind of flying taxi is? How is it powered? That would be its niche. Unless, of course, unless we're comparing it to helicopters. Helicopters and EV and flying taxis are not exactly the same technology, therefore it's not the same segment. Next thing we need to do is we need to identify the competitor strategies. Now remember something in terms of definition. A strategic group is a group of firms in an industry following the same or similar strategy. So the more that one firm's strategy resembles another firm's strategy, and the more the two firms compete, that makes the two firms compete. In most industry, competitors can be sorted into groups that pursue different strategies. Now, a strategic group, remember, is a group of firms in the industry following the same similar strategy in a given target market. The same target market, and they're implementing the same strategy. Okay? For example, the major appliance industry and GE and Whirlpool belong to the same strategic group. Each produces a full line of medium price. See that? Medium price, that's a different niche. Medium price appliances supported by good service. In contrast, Sub-Zero and Viking belong to a different strategic group, and they produce a narrower line of high quality appliances, offer a higher level of service, and charge a premium price. So what is that? That's a different niche. Value proposition, or and a different niche. Technically, when you offer a different value proposition, it's a different niche. Usually that's how it works, but not always. For example, you could have two EV vehicles that are in the same niche. One offers different features and benefits than the other one does. Should I say they're not competitors? They're competitors because they offer the same product. Do you see that? So that's what it is. They are in the same niche, therefore competitors. Some important insights emerge from identifying strategic groups. For example, a company enters a strategic group. The members of that group become its key competitors. Thus, its company enters a group containing the same group. It can succeed only if it develops strategic advantages over these two companies. Okay? That's your differentiation. Remember we talked about that? You need to offer something different. The same niche and what our competition is. Okay? When we look at that different part of our value proposition is going to offer a different benefits. Either it's going to be a different feature and or different benefit. Now the emphasis on customer centric is benefit, not just features but benefits. So, but of course, the strategic group has the same strategy. Because they have the same strategy, they have the same strategy because they're in the same niche. So it's kind of like A plus B equals B plus A. It means either way you look at it, it's the same thing. Although competition is most intense within the strategic group, there's also rivalry among groups. First, some strategic groups may appeal to overlapping customer segments. And now let me ask you this. I'm going to try to do this with the rest of our videos because we've talked so much about principles. I want you to think for a moment before I give you the answer. Why do you think? How does it happen that you have overlapping customer segments? Okay, the answer is simple. We share the same demographics of people. May not have all of the same. We have some of the same. Okay? For example, no matter what their strategy, all major appliance manufacturers will go after apartment and home builders segment. Okay? So if they're going after both, okay, maybe one is going after both and then the other one is just a specialist. They have two segments that are overlapping, therefore they are competitors. Okay. Second, customers may not see much differences in the offers of different groups. Okay. They may see little difference between the quality. So this is a challenge because if you are a name brand that charges more, you have to justify, you have to be able to convince the consumer they should pay more for your name brand. And now in some industries, the measurements, these performance differences, these benefits, and the features can be complex if it's technical in nature. But you have to show that you're getting more value for price. The last one is that we need to consider the members of strategic groups might expand into strategy segments. So you see, this is gonna. I told you, this is gonna. There's a lot to this. So one strategic group might expand into a new strategy segment. Okay, so if we have multiple segments that we service, we're going to expand into it. otherwise known as expanding your market. That's the other term. GE's monogram and profile lines of appliances compete with a premium quality premium line of Viking and Sub-Zero. Okay. So GE may service at first low end, and then they decide to have high end, or medium end, and now they serve low end, high end. So maybe in the beginning they were competitors, but because they wanted to expand their market, now they've competed. They're in the same segment, offering a similar value proposition. Okay? And it means that competitors are in the same strategic group. The company needs to look at all the dimensions that identify strategic groups within the industry. Okay? You must understand how each competitor delivers value to the customers. Like I told you, that's the value proposition. You need to know each competitor's product quality, features, and mix. Not only that, we need to consider the value-added services such as customer service. We need to know the pricing policy, distribution coverage, sales force strategy, advertising, and sales promotion programs. Let's break that down for a moment. First, what is the product quality? Is it high or low? Second of all, what are the features? What can it do from a technical standpoint? What are the mixtures of marketing elements that we have? Then we need to look at our value-added services such as customer service that differentiates the experience that the customer has with the product. And of course, we need to compare the pricing, which will cost more or less. Then we need to look at the policy. This has to do with returns and warranties. Distribution coverage, where is it sold? That's basically the place as the third P and the marketing 4 Ps. And then we have sales force strategy. Some of this stuff is not easy to find out, but we can pretty much, for sales force strategy, we can look at the result of the sales, because companies are not going to say how they strategy, what's their secret sauce, what's their strategy on how they sell. There may be some tactics they're able to see. Advertising, obviously, frequency, amount, when, those types of things. And of course, the content of it. The sales promotion, that's relating to advertising. It has the marketing campaigns, that has promotions for short-run sales. So if we're talking about sales force strategy, if we're talking about the creation of the short-run sales campaigns, then we could see that. Okay. And it must study the details of competitors' R&D, which is research and development, manufacturing, how do they manufacture, purchasing, where do they get their products from, that's your supply chain, financial, this could involve many other things. With financials, that could be how much money, what are they spending their money on, what are their investments, etc. And then there's other strategies too, miscellaneous strategies that could be added to it as well. That's not covered here. Now, let's talk about assessing competitor strengths and weaknesses. This is an important factor here. Marketers need to carefully assess each competitor's strengths and weaknesses to answer a critical question. What can our competitors do, especially compared to us? As a first step, companies can gather data on the competitors' goals. Gather data on competitors' goals, strategies, performance. This has to do with the market share and other matrices as well, and performance over the past few years. What's the market share? What's the trend? Is it going up, down? And in what segments and in what niches? or excuse me, what niches, what's going up and down, what's performing, how is it performing. Admittedly, some of the information is hard to obtain. Yeah, for example, the R&D, manufacturing, sales force strategy may be difficult because a lot of that stuff is proprietary, especially the R&D. For example, B2B marketers find it hard to estimate competitors' market shares because they do not have the same syndicated data services that are available to consumer packaged good companies. Companies normally learn about the competitors' strengths and weaknesses through secondary data such as personal experience and word of mouth. There is one way that they can get information. This is an old way, they've been doing this since the 90s. It's called secret shopper. Basically, what you do is you try to find out more about your competitors' product offerings and unique value propositions. So, for example, you take your competition; they're both selling the same thing. How much they sell? What features are they getting with this? Uh, what other value-added services are they getting with this? What other financing for purchasing products are they getting with this? What's the sales presentation with this? And then what's the promotion? Excuse me. And is there a promotion going on? And the two main thing is what's the features and what is the price. Okay. That information itself, the price and the features, is a publicly available information. And also, when you go there, you want to see how they're doing their sales promotion because all this stuff is publicly available, so it's not proprietary. And then you want to see other things about how it's presenting it with promotions. So they collect some of the information through something called the secret shopper, or they used to. Now, in terms of performance, we have to look at performance. Performance can be measured in various ways. One could be in terms of market share, or one could be measured in terms of performance compared to features provided in terms of its benefits. Now, remember that benchmarking is the process of comparing the company's products and processes to those of competitors or leading firms in other industry to identify the best practices and ways to improve quality and performance. So it depends on what kind of benchmark are we talking about. If we're talking about a marketing benchmark, it's that. If we're talking about a technical benchmark, it has to do with the performance. It's a comparative performance among brands, either from the same company and or from different companies. So based upon the function, what it's trying to do, which one is performing the most in accordance to accomplishing the goal or the function that's set out to do. Okay, so that's the other part from a technical benchmarking point of view. For example, you could take a computer, you can use the example of a computer and say, okay, for a computer, which one's the fastest one? Okay, that's a benchmark. Which one has the best batteries? So basically what you do is you take the features and you compare the performance of the features. Okay, this is supposedly a faster processor, but what is it's we look at certain criteria and see how it performs. And that would be compared, the benchmark would be the standard that the performance is compared to. Okay. Now, also, we need to estimate the competitors' reactions. Meaning, when we do something, or when X company does something, what is the Y company's reaction? That could be price competition, that could be value-added prices, that could be promotions, that could be any number of things. The company wants to know what will our competitors do. Okay? That is, a competitor's objectives, strategies, and strengths and weaknesses go a long way towards explaining its likely actions. So what do we need to know? We need to know the strengths and weaknesses. Because the strengths and weaknesses will tell us what opportunities are available compared to our threats, which is our competition. They also suggest it's likely reactions to company moves such as price cuts. Okay. Now, first thing is the price cuts, otherwise known as a price war. Promotion increases, so that's your promotion, and new product introductions. So I'm introducing a new, let's say, I don't know, a new touchscreen laptop. Okay, I'm the only one who's doing that now. Okay, that's bringing in more of the market share. So from the total market, uh, there's a total amount of customers in that market that's in divided into segments and in niches. So when you introduce that new product, the idea is to get market share and of course revenue from that. So if, for example, when you offer something new, the idea is taking away market share from our competition. So in order to prevent losing market share, they will introduce the same thing in return, especially if it's something in demand. Pretty much the way it works is whenever there's a demand for something and a person can readily supply it. It sounds like an oversimplified explanation. In terms of this product introduction, it has to do with a perceived demand, um, perceived consumer demand for something, as relates to competition in the market in terms of market share. In addition, each competitor has certain philosophies of doing business, a certain internal, remember I told you internal culture and guiding beliefs. This is internal. Marketing managers need a deep understanding of giving competitors mentality if they want to anticipate how the competition will act or react. Now, this can be relevant if it has to do with value added services, such as customer service related. Okay? Each competitor reacts differently. Some do not react quickly or strongly to a competitor's move. They may feel the customers are loyal, so they will be slow to noticing the move. They may lack the funds to react. Some competitors react only to certain types of moves and not to others. Other competitors react swiftly and strongly to any action. Thus, P&G does not allow any competitors' new detergent to come easily into the market. Many firms avoid direct competition with P&G and look for easier prey. Knowing P&G will react fiercely if it's challenged. In some industries, companies live in relative harmony, in others they fight constantly. Knowing how major competitors react give the company clues on how best to attack competitors, or at least defend its own current positions. Okay, so this is what it is, okay? Basically, what you have is you have a market leader, and you have a challenger, and you have a follower. So the market leader will continue the strategy if it allows for success, and he has a strength. The other two perceive they have a strength too. They'll be also fierce to challenge the market leader. Both let's say the second highest and third. Let's say the first, second, and third. Right. First is the market leader. Second is the challenger, and third is the follower. So this follower, the challenger, both attack for market share to get market share away from the leader. They will attack based upon the strength that they have, right? Not a weakness. If they find that they're not strong enough to get market share, they will not attack the market leader. Now, In terms of selecting competitors to attack and avoid, which I was just talking about, you need to remember that a company has already largely selected its major competitors through prior decisions on customer targets, distribution channels, and marketing mix strategies. Management now must decide which competitors to compete against more vigorously. Okay, that will depend on your strengths and weaknesses. So if you think you have a strong enough strength and you believe there's enough opportunity for market share growth for that company, and they will try it. So we have strong or weak competitors. The company can focus on one or several classes of competitors. Most companies prefer to compete against weak competitors. Makes sense, right? The strong competition is the predator, and the weak competition is the prey. This requires fewer resources and less time, but in the process, the firm gains little. And you could argue that the firm should compete with strong competitors to sharpen its abilities. It depends on what's easier to do compared. So it's a risk versus reward, but it's also, um, basically risk versus reward. What it is. So although the risk is low, maybe the reward is low, and therefore it may not be worth it. You need to do risk versus reward assessment. Okay? Now, in terms of customer value analysis, we need to understand that analysis conducted to determine what benefits target customers value and how they rate the relative value of various competitors' offers. So, just like this, I want to get more customers in an industry. Okay? I am in the same segment. For example, let's say I'm in the consultant industry, and it's, for example, private tutoring. You have public tutoring, you have private tutoring. So one is institutional based, one is, for example, a couple person operation or a one person operation. Okay? Now, we have the same again, we want to use the same segment, private tutoring. On private tutoring, right, we have, excuse me, let me reverse that. Consultancy is the market, is the industry. Okay? Then what we have, we have private tutoring as a segment, and then among private tutoring, we have to be focused on its subject. Okay? So the subject can be any of those. So so you have different segment, private tutoring versus public tutoring. Those are technically not exactly. Well, I guess we could say those are not exactly the same segment, because among private tutoring, what is the subject? The subject is English, it's piano, it's violin. Okay, technically we could actually look at it both ways. We could say our segment is piano instruction. Okay, and then we could say from piano instruction, right? What are the different ways of piano instruction? We could say, okay, it's private instruction, school and institutional instruction. So now let's talk about the same niche now. Let's say we have, for example, piano instruction, right? Both are private tutoring, private instruction, right? For, let's say, piano instruction, right? So let's say one offers a lower price. Say, okay, I'm offering a lower price. Now we need to figure out, is this permanent or is this temporary? That's the first thing we need to figure out. After that, what we need to figure out is, in what is the value added that they're doing it, or under what conditions are they doing it. So conditions, like I said before, could be promotional, or it could be because of a pricing structure based upon package pricing. So it depends on the actual strategy that we're using for that. Package pricing is the tactic as the way that we carry it out. But the overall action, the overall idea would be, for example, cost cutting promotion, market promotion. All right. So once we consider that, what we need to do is for example, let's say we compare two niches. One is let's say ESL instruction. Let's say actually we could reverse it. Say ESL instruction, for example, English instruction. Let's say that's the segment. The niche is one is private instruction, such as one-on-one or tutoring, on niche, or we have institutional, or um, we have uh, we have institutional in terms of a private institute, or we have a public institute. So and when we compare a competition, we look at the strengths and weaknesses. So the strengths is institution, greater facilities, has a greater capability and capacity to have more students in the class, for example, right? Okay, but less flexibility and higher prices, that's the weakness. So big school cannot compete on price because their overhead is much more. But the strength is that they have greater capacity for scaling and getting more students in the same hour. So scaling, which is a major part of business, it is their strength. So once we assess that, we say, okay, I can't compete with them on price, but I can compete with them in another area where I am strong. So that's what it is. We have to look at the value to the customer and see what it is. Now, and that is a tool we're using for assessing the competitor strengths. Now, and when we have weaknesses, depends on when we say weaknesses, it's comparable to our competition, or it could be just that we don't have the competency or the capacity. In terms of customer value analysis, the aim of customer value analysis determine the benefits of the target customer value and how customers rate the relative value of various competitors' offers. So, for example, as I mentioned before, private instruction versus institutional instruction. What's more convenient for the customer from their point of view? Is it more convenient to be in person, or is it more convenient to have flexibility in where the lesson can be done? Such as a person wants instruction while they're traveling, well, they can't be in person. So, is it valuable to use both, or is it valuable to stick with one that's more flexible? That depends on the customer, the way the customer perceives it. Now, the key to gaining competitive advantage is to take each customer segment and examine how the customer's offers compares to the other major competitors. Now, one segment does not compete with another segment. That's a thing to understand. First of all, they need to be in the same segment to be competitive, to be competitors, because if they're not in the same segment, they can't be in the same niche. The company wants to find the place in the market where it meets customer needs in a way that the rivals can't. Yes. You have to assess, you have to understand and know what are the company's, what is the customer's needs? Is the need to participate in a group where there's lots of people? Or is there a need to have a more flexible format in terms of having a value added where the teacher can go to their home to do the lesson, where normally the school won't do that unless they charge a lot more. Remember that the institution has a higher overhead than the tutor does. So this is their pluses and minuses. If the company's offer delivers greater value by exceeding customers' offer on important attributes, the company can charge a higher price and earn higher profits. Okay, why is that? Because you're offering greater value. Here's the thing. It's just like this. It's just like comparing, for example, a Chevy to a Lamborghini. You think it's going to be the same price? Not even close. The Lamborghini way outperforms the Chevy. Okay? But to be fair, see, those are different prices, but they're not the same niche. First of all, they're not even the same segment because one is a high performing car, sports car, compared to one is an everyday car. Okay, those are the same segment. So if it was the same segment, for example, let's say sports cars, right? Then we have among sports cars, right? We can have different niches based upon certain different features or certain different value propositions we have in that segment. So this can be a complex analysis, or it can be simple depending on what they're offering. Okay, so and also as they say, the positioning. But if the company is seen as performing at a lower level than the major competitors in important attributes, it must invest in something to strengthen its attributes or finding other important attributes where it can build a lead on its competitors. Basically, if your competition has better quality than you for a similar price, guess what you have to do? You have to improve your quality. Why? Because that's where you're weak. Actually, it's not difficult, but you just have to understand what your strengths and weaknesses are. Now, we have close and we have distant competitors. Basically, that's the close is basically your direct. Your distant is your indirect. Okay? Now, most companies will compete with close competitors. That's your direct competitors. That is those that resemble them the most. That is a direct competitor, rather than distant competitors, which are your indirect or not truly a competitor. For example, can you compare a sports shoe to a boot, to a winter boot? No, you can't. Those are two completely different, even different segments for crying out loud. They're not even the same niche. They're different segments. But even if you compare different shoes, let's say we say casual shoes, right? Now, let's say casual shoes is, for example, a segment. In casual shoes, we have sports shoes, that's one segment. We have regular loafers, we have regular like slip-on shoes, that's another segment. See that? Okay. And then even if we use the same segment, let's say, such as boots, right? We have low price and we have high price. These are different again, it's different value propositions. Now, at the same time, company may want to avoid trying to destroy a close competitor, for example, because it may not be worth the effort. You understand what I'm saying? Bosch and Lomb moved aggressively against another soft lens manufacturer with great success. However, this forced weak competitors to sell out to larger firms such as Johnson and Johnson. As a result, Bosch and Lomb then faced much larger competitors and suffered as a consequence. J&J acquired Vistakon, a smaller nicher, smaller nicher with only $20 million in annual sales, backed by J&J's deep pockets, and the small but nimble Vistakon developed and introduced its own innovative AccuView disposable lenses. With Visticon leading the way, J&J is now a dominant U.S. contact lens maker. Bausch & Lomb lags the leading way. J&J is now the dominant U.S. contact lens maker, while Bausch & Lomb lags the leading way. Now, Bausch & Lomb lags in third place. In this case, success in hurting a close rival brought in by tougher competitors. So the reaction to what they're doing caused them, when they attacked, it caused them to respond and outperform their competition, basically through mergers and acquisitions. In this case, an acquisition. Now, we also have good or bad competitors. Now, your good competitor is basically going to be one that has a symbiotic relationship. And your bad competitors is going to be one that's a direct competitor that's trying to take over market share versus the other one is sharing market share. It's not trying to compete directly. Okay, for example, let's suppose, okay, let's say for example, Walmart had, they sell regular bread, right? A high-end competitor said, okay, I want to just take over everything, right? And so they said, I'm going to compete with the low-end bread. Well, their demographic is not going to be receptive to in other words, their existing demographic is not going to buy what their indirect competitor has. Therefore, it's bad competition in that. Now, the existence of competitors results from the strategic benefits. That's what I was talking about. You do have that strategic benefit when you have a win-win. Competitors may share the costs of market and product development and help legitimize new technologies. So that's your strategic partnerships, okay, that you can have. You can have a joint venture, otherwise known as a joint venture, where you have two companies that are two different companies, but they're working together to make the same product, and they share the profits. They may serve less attractive segments or lead more product differentiation. So let's say it's a product that both of them individually couldn't make different, but when they work together, they can make a better product that will differentiate itself in the market. Now, competitors may increase their total demand. So there's more, if you have more competitors, you have more, um, you have different products. Therefore, based upon the differentiation, if you have increased differentiation, you can have more demand for different products, or for an increasing amount of products. So let's say that one customer usually buys one of something, maybe he'll buy two of something. I mean, so it can also have that effect too. And because of total demand being increased, also the price can be increased because there's more demand. Now, I'll give you an example here. Starbucks has a high-end coffee, okay? And you get an example. They have their example here, but I'm going to give you mine. I like it. I have a different example. Let's suppose you have a restaurant that serves coffee. Okay? It's not their main product, okay? Just like Microsoft's, their main product is not keyboards. Okay? But, so let's say Starbucks is kind of like the Logitech, is compared to like Logitech for keyboards, right? And like coffee inside of McDonald's is like Microsoft for keyboards, right? Well, they're not really direct competitors because Logitech is a specialist versus it's just not their primary product. It's just something sort of on the side that they offer. It's just like as if a person you have two customers, they're gonna buy for both, right? They're gonna go to McDonald's maybe once in a while for a sandwich or something, or a breakfast sandwich for breakfast. They may have coffee with it, or whatever with it. Let's say something like a coffee with it, and then later in the day they might go because of the value added services that Starbucks has. They might go to Starbucks and also have a coffee there too. Notice that they're not direct competitors, and in fact, because the demand has increased, competition actually helps them both. Not only helps them both in terms of the demand increasing, but the possible price increase as well. Okay, so keep that in mind. And because there's a demand, there's more of a demand for coffee in general. That means both businesses have a shot at both being in business, especially the higher end. Because there's two scenarios that are possible. One is people at McDonald's like to drink coffee, for example, right? Because they like to drink coffee, well, they like to drink coffee, but it's just with the meal. It's not like the main thing. But there's a demand for coffee, right? So, because it's not the main thing, you're gonna go to Starbucks also. Right? And so McDonald's provides the food. To put it in a very oversimplified analogy, explanation, it basically would be like it's a symbiotic relationship in a way because they promote each other. Basically, they're in a way they're promoting each other's products. Why? McDonald's is there, so because of the lack of competition for sandwiches that Starbucks has, that's a side product for Starbucks, not their main product. That gives way for customers to go to McDonald's to buy the sandwiches. Okay. So because coffee is not their main product, they're going to go to Starbucks. Okay, so both ways that the demand for each type of products has increased, especially when it has a value-added service with it. But they don't directly compete, so in a sense, it both helps each other promote their own product. Therefore, Starbucks and McDonald's both benefit because of it. Okay. Depends on because sometimes you do have a demographical crossover, and that's oftentimes when it happens. Um, it's not quite as symbiotic as Walmart is to McDonald's. Like, for example, a McDonald's inside of a Walmart, but it's the same kind of thing, just not quite as strategic. Okay. Now, so your strategic partnership uh, would be the Walmart and McDonald's analogy, as in the Walmart as the McDonald's inside of the Walmart. But because people do buy coffee at McDonald's and there's a demand for coffee, they're going to go to Starbucks. But because there's a demand they have as a side market for food, they're going to go to McDonald's. So they're both helping each other with demand as well. So it's a mutually beneficial scenario. So these indirect competitors are beneficial. An industry often contains good competitors and bad competitors. Good competitors play the roles of the industry. Bad competitors, in contrast, break the rules. They try to buy share rather than earn it, take large risks, and play by their own rules. So basically, it's when they're trying to get out, they're trying to compete in something that they don't have a strength in. So McDonald's doesn't really have a strength in coffee. So if they try to take the market share of coffee and offer the same quality of coffee, they'll probably not succeed because they don't. Their business model is not based upon a value-added service, and it's not based upon only offering coffee. So they're going to fail. It's better to have a symbiotic, mutual win-win scenario than otherwise. Now, in terms of finding uncontested market spaces. So suppose right now there's not a market for something because there's no such product for it. because the technology hasn't existed. Yeah, I'll give you an example. Before the iPhone, there was no market for a smartphone. Once someone has released it to the market and it's become popular because the technology and benefits are better than the alternative, then we- then we have for the short run we have an uncontested market space. Once the demand grows high enough, then once other companies get involved in it, we have a contested market space. So basically, uncontested means that you have very little to no competition in that market, and contested means you have competition. You have competition to high competition in that market. So the idea is, rather than competing head to head with established competitors, many companies seek out unoccupied positions in uncontested market spaces. Okay? They try to create products and services for which there's no direct competition. This is called the blue ocean strategy. And the goal is again to make competition irrelevant. Okay? I'll give you another example, an analogy for what this point. Excuse me. Let's say before there was no such thing as a discount airline. Everybody had offered the same value proposition. Now we have something where we have a discount airline offering something that no one else offers. That's where, in the short run, we have uncontested market space because we have we're offering something that no one else is offering. So that's the differentiation that we provided and we created, and this is short term until once the market becomes saturated with not saturated, but once the market becomes rich with demand, other companies will take note and they will be introduced into the market as well. So that's your head-to-head competition that you'll create once the demand is high. One of the criteria for this uncontested market spaces is avoiding overcrowded industries. That is, in competing head-on results nothing and but a bloody quote red ocean, which is rivals of fighting over a shrinking profit pool. And that you have something called a saturated market. You have too many competitors, right? And not enough market share to go around, right? And therefore, that's not a good strategy. And I've always said, before even reading this book, that if I want to differentiate myself and I want to get market share, I need to come up with something different than my competition. So for the short run, I will create an uncontested market space. That's what you want to do, at least in the short run, because you don't want to be in direct competition with somebody who has higher budgets for R&D and marketing than you do. So your focus is going to be more specific and differentiated. That's you're going to be going towards what they call blue ocean strategy. Okay? Now, with the blue ocean strategy, it's something different from the rest of the market. And when we talk about the market, we're talking about segments. When we say it's different in the market, we're not referring to a different market, but we're referring to a different segment. So, for example, let's say I come up with a completely different car. Let's say a flying car. That's a different segment. That's that's an uncontested market space. A lot of times this happens, and I'll explain how this happens. This happens when you have a technology innovation. Right? So let's say you have let's say a much higher technological phone. Let's say one is a smartphone and one is not. Right? Okay, that's another. So it's whenever you can innovate or come up with something different, you create an uncontested market space. And when they thought outside the box, and that's why thinking outside the box is an important thing to do, the blue ocean thinking is doing differently than your competition. This is what I've always advocated, even before knowing that term. So what airlines did is that how can I compete? Let's say I'm a smaller airline. How can I compete with the bigger airline? Well, I'm going to have a different focus. Just like this. Suppose I'm a consultant and I specialize in ESL instruction, right? How am I going to compete with the bigger company that has a greater budget, has a better facility, right? How am I going to compete? I can compete in many different ways. Well, besides the price, I can compete in terms of what I'm offering that the institution that the big company cannot offer, and also, let's say public schools cannot offer. It would be institutions cannot offer as well. Now, Legion Air is a profitable, low-cost airline that avoids direct competition with major airlines rivals by targeting smaller, neglected markets such as new flyers. Okay? The other way, because I've read this before, by the way, they also target smaller markets or airlines that the bigger airlines don't use as much. Okay? So that means there's less competition at certain airports. I meant airports for smaller cities. So there's less competition in smaller cities for the same business. Okay? So that's your blue ocean strategy. Okay? So the idea is you target something different than your competition, and you target it in a place where there's not as much competition. Now, in terms of designing a competitive intelligence system, we so of course we've already described the main types of information that company needs about competitors. This information must be collected, interpreted, distributed, and used. Of course. Gathering competitive intelligence can cost considerable money and time, so the company must design a cost-effective competitive intelligence system. The competitive intelligence system first identifies the vital type of competitive information needed and the best source of information. I just try to highlight that. Then the system continuously collects information on the field, such as sales force, channels, suppliers, market research firms, websites, and trade associations. Then what you do is you take the published data, such as government publications, speeches, and online databases. Okay, so this is the sort of public information. And after that, the system checks the information for validity and reliability, and interprets it and organizes it into an appropriate way. And then finally, it sends key information to relevant decision makers to respond inquiries from managers about competitors. So it'll be your manager of the marketing department or manager of whatever department that's relevant to what you're doing in the campaign. With this system, the company manages. With this system, company managers receive timely intelligence information about competitors in the form of reports, phone calls, emails, bulletins, and newsletters. Managers can also connect with the system they need to interpret a competitor's sudden move when they want to know a competitor's weakness and strengths, and when they need to know how a competitor responds to a planned company move. Smaller companies that can't afford to set up formal competitive intelligence offices can assign specific executives to watch specific competitors. Okay, so that's another way. I'm trying to highlight this here. Thus, a manager who used to work for a competitor must follow the competitor closely. He or she would be the in-house expert. More of kind of difference between a bigger company that can subdivide up the responsibilities to more people, or a smaller company that's a bigger company subdivided into more people, or a smaller company subdivided into less people, such as a manager who does more tasks. And thus, a manager who used to work for a competitor must follow the competitor closely. He or she would be the in-house expert of that competitor. Any manager needing to know, thinking of a given competitor, could contact the assigned in-house expert. Here we have a case example about Legion Air and how they did it. Now, because I've read this, I'll tell you the way that they were able to create a uncontested market space was by, number one, making the flights cheaper, and they made it cheaper because they used airports that have there's less demand at the airport. It's also a smaller city, and there's also less competition among the airlines. And so that's basically how they did it. Now let's talk about competitive strategies. Now, having identified with and evaluated major competitors, the company now must design broad competitive marketing strategies by which it can gain a competitive advantage. So how do you gain a competitive advantage? By having a competitive strategy. And that competitive advantage includes superior customer value. But what broad marketing strategy insight should the company use? Which ones are particular company or for the company's different divisions or products? So what we need to do, we need to know what marketing strategies might the company use and one is best for the particular company. Now we have approaches for marketing strategy. That is, no one strategy is best for all companies. Each company must determine what makes the most sense given its position in the industry and its objectives, opportunities, and resources. So that's what you have right there. You need to consider its objectives, its opportunities, and its resources. Even within the company, different strategies are required for different businesses or products. Johnson & Johnson uses one marketing strategy for leading brands in a stable consumer market such as Band-Aid, Tylenol, and Listerine. Or in J&J Baby Products, and a different marketing strategy for its high-tech healthcare business and products such as Monocle for surgical structures or Nuflex for finger joint implants. So these are different products for different segments. Companies also different in how they approach a strategy planning process. Okay. Many large firms develop formal competitive marketing strategies and implement them religiously. However, other companies develop strategies in less formal and orderly fashion. Some companies, such as Harley-Davidson, Virgin Atlantic Airways, BMW, Mini Cooper unit, succeed by breaking many of the rules of marketing strategy. Why is that? They have a different way that works for the needs of for them being able to sell their products based upon their demographic. Such companies don't operate large marketing departments, but conduct expensive marketing research, spell out elaborate competitive strategies, and spend huge sums on advertising. Instead, they sketch out strategies on the fly and stretch out their limited resources, live closer to consumers, and create more satisfying solutions to customer needs. It's basically like they find something that works better for them. It's as simple as saying they find something better that works better for them based upon the needs of the product as it as it needs to on how it can be sold. If you're in the right demographic, you don't need as much because you already have figured out the characteristics of the demographic. Especially, for example, if you take Apple, how much marketing do they need to do? They have loyal customers, right? Well, that's part of it. In fact, approaches to marketing strategy and price often pass through degrees. It's entrepreneurial marketing, formulated marketing, and intrapreneurial marketing. In terms of entrepreneurial marketing, that is that most companies are started by individuals who live by their wits. Okay? So this could be good for less complexities, smaller companies. So when you first, let's say, for example, when you first found a company, that would be more appropriate. That's an entrepreneur. They don't believe in formal marketing or formal anything else. Pirate Brands markets a pantry full of all baked, all natural, trans fat, and gluten-free snacks such as Pirate's Booty, Potato Flyers, Smart Puffs, and Kings. Okay? Over the past 2 decades, founder Robert Elric was built the Pirate brand into a thriving $50 million empire and become a thorn in the paw of snack foods like Nabisco and Frito-Lay. The thing is, they offer a different type of chip product and is targeted to a different demographic. So the small guy can compete again. The small guy can compete with the different big guy. Why? Different niche. They say we do know marketing, says Aldrich proudly. Zero. New product R&D. It's whatever pops up into Aldrich's head in a given day. Product names and taglines. He cooks them up himself while driving, flying, or sleeping, or whatever focus groups. Are you kidding? Package design. Aldrich phones a cartoonist chum from Mad Magazine, tells him to do and tells him what to draw. The snack bags sport a scribbled look that is reminiscent of a doodle pad. In fact, Eldred's carefree packaging as close as the economy has to come to formal marketing, unless you count the 20 guys that Eldridge employs around the country to dress up the pirate costumes and hand out free uh, of chips at its bags of its chips at grocery stores. When it comes to marketing, shrugs Eldridge, quote, I'm influenced a lot by different things. There's no real thought of to it. We're not Exxon or Mobil. Thank you very much. We don't want to be. They just want to start. They want to have their own unique brand. They want to be small. And they want to do things that defines uh, their company philosophy and their brand. You also have formulated marketing, and with formulated marketing, it's the small companies that achieve success that inevitably move towards non-formulated marketing. They develop formal marketing strategies and adhere to them closely. Okay? Pirate Brands has grown up. It now takes a more formal approach to product development and its PR and distributor solution strategies. It also developed a more formal customer outreach efforts, such as small feature web page, Facebook page, beauty blog, and Captain's newsletter, which features product updates, coupons, special offers, and event listings. Although Pirate Brands will no doubt remain less formal than its marketing of Frito-Lay of the marketing world, as it grows up, it will adopt more developed marketing tools. It also depends on the needs of the company and their budget. So, and also the brand, the brand positioning and the brand communication. Now, for entrepreneur marketing, this is something different. These are many large and mature companies that get stuck into formulated marketing. They pore over the latest Nielsen numbers, scan market research reports, and try to fine tune their competitive strategies and programs. These companies sometimes lose the marketing creativity and passion they had in the start. See, that's where you have your startups, you have your small companies. focus on creativity versus some formulated plan. So there's pluses and minuses to this. This is not all pluses and it's definitely not all minuses. You now need to reestablish your company's the entrepreneur spirit actions that made them successful in the first place. You need to encourage more initiative and entrepreneurship at the local level. They need to refresh their strategies and try new approaches. The brand and marketing managers need to get out of the office and start living with their customers and visualize new and creative ways to add value to the customers' lives. They need to be around where the customers are. They need to understand their customers. Now, there are some companies that do that. They do it through, you might have seen some reality shows like Undercover Boss. They basically put themselves in the shoes of people who service the customers and affect the bottom line the most because they need to get a fresh perspective on what to do. That way they can still stay relevant and offer a fresh product offering to the customer. Bottom line is there are many approaches to developing an effective marketing strategy. It will be a constant tension between the formulated side of the marketing and the creative side. It is easier to learn the formulated side of marketing, which has occupied most of our attention in this book, which we talked about. We also seen how marketing creativity with passion strategy of many companies studied, whether it's small or large, new or mature, which has helped to build and maintain success in the marketplace. With this in mind, we look at broader competitive marketing strategies companies can use. So a lot of that stuff with smaller companies is more about quality control and the brand image than it is some pre-formulated strategy. Now, uh, for basic competitive strategies, we have 3 decades ago, Michael Porter suggested 4 competitive positioning strategies the companies can follow. 3 winning strategies and 1 losing one. The 3 winning strategies are the following. Is the overall cost leadership. Here the company works hard to achieve the lowest production and distribution costs. Low costs let the price lower than the competitors and win large market share. Okay? Texas Instruments and Walmart are leading practitioners of this strategy. We also have differentiation, which is very important in marketing, of course, because here the company concentrates on creating a highly differentiated product and marketing program shows that it comes across as a class leader of the industry. Most customers prefer to own this brand if its price is not too high. IBM and Caterpillar follow the strategy in information technology service and heavy construction equipment, respectively. The last one we have is focus. Here, the company focuses its effort on serving a few segments rather than going after the whole market. For example, Ritz-Carlton focuses on the top 5% of corporate and leisure travelers. Tetra Food supplies 80% of the pet tropical fish food. Similarly, Honer owns a stunning 85% of the harmonica market. So, companies that pursue a clear strategy, one above the other, will perform well. The firm that carries out the strategy the best will make the most profits. Make most of the profits. But firms that do not pursue a clear strategy, which is middle of the roaders, do the worst. Sears and Holiday Inn encounters difficult times because they did not stand out in the lowest did not stand out as the lowest in cost or highest in perceived value. Basically, you have to find something that you do better than your competition. Going with this theme of this chapter, which is competitive advantage, we have to do something better than our competition. We can't just be average. The roaders try to be good on all strategic accounts, but end up being not very good at anything. See, you have to focus in on your market. What are you trying to do? You can't do everything. Just like nobody can have, even in this, it's just like in an industry, right? You can't, for example, let's say in the IT industry, I can't be an expert at everything. Okay, so IT person can't, a doctor can't know everything. I mean, you can just go down each industry. You can't be the best at everything. Two marketing consultants, Michael Tracy and Fred Wirzama, offer a more customer-centric classification of competitive marketing strategies. They suggest that companies gain leadership positions by delivering superior value to their customers. Companies can pursue any of the three strategies called value disciplines for delivering superior customer value. Basically, the first one we have is operational excellence. The company provides superior value by leading its industry in price and convenience. It works to reduce costs and creates a lean and efficient value-driven value delivery system. It serves customers who want reliable, good quality product or services, but want them cheaply and easily. Examples include Walmart, Costco, Southwest Airlines. We also have customer intimacy. That is, the customer provides value by precisely segmenting its markets and tailoring its products or services exactly to match the needs of the targeted customer. It specializes in satisfying unique customer needs through a close relationship and intimate knowledge of the customer. That's sort of like what casinos used to be during it was up to the 1970s. You know everybody's name. This is more of a very specialized thing. So, and it has more personalized and value-added services with it. It builds a detailed customer database for segmenting and targeting and empowers its marketing people to respond quickly to customer needs. So this would be relevant more to high-end stuff. Customer intimate companies serve customers who are willing to pay a premium. Exactly. I didn't even read that in. I read it before, but I didn't see it until just a moment ago. Kind of forgot about it. Um, Customers, yeah. So customers willing to receive a premium to get precisely what they want. They will do almost anything to build long-term customer loyalty and capture customer lifetime value. Depends on how much that demographic is worth. The ones that pay more are worth more, so therefore they have to do more. As they say, value for value, have to do more to get that. Examples like Nordstrom, Lexus, British Airways, Ritz-Carlton. As we learned in the very first chapter, fast-growing web retailers, Apples.com, customer intimacy starts with a deep-down obsession with customer service. Okay. Now, product leadership. With product leadership, the company provides superior value by offering a continuous stream of leading-edge products or services. Okay. Notice the key word is cutting edge, or sorry, excuse me, leading edge. The phrasal verb is phrasal word. It aims to make its own and competing products obsolete. Product leaders are open to new ideas, okay, relentlessly pursue new solutions, and work to get new products to market quickly. They serve customers who want the state-of-the-art products and services, regardless of the cost in terms of price or convenience, such as Apple and Nokia. I was just about to mention Apple because every single couple of years, it's a new marketing campaign for the newest, latest, and greatest. Some companies successfully pursue more than one value discipline at the same time. For example, FedEx excels in both operational excellence and customer intimacy. However, such companies are rare. Firms can be the best at more than one of these disciplines. By being good at all value disciplines, customer usually ends up being best at none. So again, we need to specialize. Tracy and Wisarna found that the leading companies focus on and excel at single value disciplines. Exactly. We need to have a niche. We can't just need to specialize it. That's why we have niches, not just segments, okay? We need to specialize so we can um, have the greatest possible quality in what we do. Well, meeting industry standards and the other two. Some companies design their own entire value delivery network, as I talked to you before, single-mindedly to support the chosen disciplines. And remember, in the value delivery network, we have partners and the supply chain that cooperate together that work together to ensure the highest quality service for the end user consumer. For example, Walmart knows that the customer intimacy and product leadership are important. Compared with their discounters, it offers very good customer service and an excellent product assortment. Still, it purposely offers less customer service and less product depth than does Nordstrom or Williams Sonoma, which pursue customer intimacy. Instead, Walmart focused obsessively on operational excellence. Okay. That is, reducing costs and streamlining the order to delivery process to make it convenient for customers to buy just the right products at the lowest prices. By the same token, Ritz-Carlton wants to be efficient and employ the latest technologies. But what really sets the luxury hotel chain apart from this is its customer intimacy. Ritz-Carlton creates custom-driven experiences that coddle its customers. Classifying competitive strategies as value disciplines is appealing. It defines marketing strategies in terms of single-minded pursuit of delivering superior values to customers. Each value discipline defines a specific way to build lasting customer relationships. Now, for competitive positions, we have some four terms to understand. First one is market leader, which is the firm in the industry that has the largest market share. We also have the market challenger, that's the runner-up firm, which I told you before, that is fighting hard to increase its market share in the industry. That's like the number two. The market follower is a runner-up firm that wants to hold its share in the industry without rocking the boat. So they won't directly challenge the market leader. And then we have the market nicher, is a firm that serves small segments and that the other firms in the industry overlook or ignore. These are your special. This is where you have to specialize, is by being a market nicher. In terms of market leader strategies, most industries contain an acknowledged market leader. Leader has the largest market share and usually leads other firms in price changes. New product production, distributions, coverage, and promotion spending. The leader may or may not be admired or respected, but the other firms concede its dominance. Competitors focus on the leader as the company to challenge, initiate, or avoid. Depends on what their strengths are and what their strategy is. Some of the best known leaders are Walmart for retailing, McDonald's for fast food, Verizon for wireless, Coca-Cola for beverages, Microsoft for computer software, Caterpillar for earth-moving equipment, and Nike for athletic footwear and apparel, and Google for internet search services. Notice that they're not trying to get into each other's. They're in different industries. They're not trying to compete with each other because they have different specialties, especially because they're in a different industry. A leader's life is not easy. It must maintain constant watch. Other firms keep challenging its strength, trying to take advantage of its weakness. The market leader can easily miss a turn in the market and plunge into second or third place. A product innovation may come along and hurt the leader, as when Apple developed the iPod and took the market lead from Sony's Walkman portable audio devices. The leader might grow arrogant or complacent and misjudge the competition, as when Sears lost its lead to Walmart, or the leader might look old-fashioned against the new and peppier Rivals such as Gap lost serious ground to stylish niche brands such as Seven for All Mankind, American apparel and mall brands such as Abercrombie and Fitch, Aeropostale, and J. Crew. And here we have a diagram here that talks about the competitive market positions and roles. And for market leader, we're talking about a 40% market share. For most challengers, we got 30% market share. For market followers, we have 20% market share, and market nichers is 10%. The reason why it's got to be 10% is because it's a blue ocean strategy where we're focusing on it. It's a very specific and narrow part of the market that we're targeting. Now, strategies for market leaders, challengers, followers, and niches. Okay, as for market leader strategies, we have three things. Number one is we need to expand the total market. That's what we want to do. And we want to protect the market share, and then we want to expand the market share. For market challenger strategies, we have a full frontal attack, and we have an indirect attack. Market follower strategy, we follow closely and also follow at a distance, depending on what's happening. And then for market niche strategies, it's by customer market, quality, price, quality, price, service, and multiple niching. Okay. Now, this is the small guy competing with the big guy by market niche strategies. And in terms of expanding total demand, the leading firm normally gains most of the total market. The leading firm normally gains the most when the total market expands. If Americans eat more fast food, McDonald's stands to gain the most because it holds more than 3 times the fast food market share of total competitors such as Subway and Burger King. If McDonald's can convince more Americans that fast food is the best eating out choice in these economic times, of course, by the way, consider that this was published in 2012, and at the time they're coming out of a bad economy, it'll benefit more than its competitors. Market leaders can expand their market by developing new users, new uses, and more usages of the products. They usually do this by finding new users on untapped markets, segments in many places. For example, Nutrisystems has typically targeted its weight loss programs toward women. Recently, however, I stepped up efforts to attract male customers by advertising in media such as ESPN and Men's Health. The ads feature Dan Marino and Don Shula, who talk about how they ate like a man and still lost weight with Nutrisystems. The company also created dedicated online features for men, such as dedicated chat room. Since the launch of the targeted ads, the male share of the Nutrisystem jumped from 13% to 32%. And the reason is very obvious. Because if you're only targeting half of the possible market, well then what's happening with the other half? So what we want to do is we want to tap the rest of the market that's available. So if you haven't tapped one of the gender's markets, then we should tap it. That's basically what it is. Okay? So if you haven't sold a man for something that man or woman, for something they both can consume or use as a product or service, then that's exactly what you should do. Marketers can expand markets by discovering and promoting new usages for the product. That's another way. So we have a product, you say, okay, how can this product be used? Well, this product can be used for gaming. How about for education? Okay, there we go. That's untapped. Before, gaming devices were only targeted towards gamers. What if you target it for education? Okay, here we go. You targeted schools and other things that wasn't targeted before. See? And then you have students that use that. You see that? Now, Japan, they had something that they were using. Nintendo never was content to creating gaming products that are simply for gaming, but also using portable DS system for school. Using a PC, teachers can interact with students via Wi-Fi, beaming questions, visual aids, and other information to special DS classroom cartridge in students' handheld devices. So here you see they're targeting for education. That's a positioning they didn't do before. And that will, by changing or adding a positioning to the market, so you have a different segment, so which changes your positioning. So it's actually increases your positioning, so you have more than one position. So you can target more of the market. By targeting more of the market, you're expanding into something that, in this case, is targeting something that's is unused, basically. Now, finally, market leaders can encourage more usage by convincing people to use the product more often than just use per occasion. For example, Campbell urges people to eat soup and other Campbell products more often by running ads containing more recipes, right? Because then you provide more usages of the product. And Campbell's Kitchen website, www.campbellskitchen.com, lets visitors search for exchange recipes. They create their own personal recipe box, sign up for a daily or weekly meal mail program, and can even watch online video clips of guest chefs cooking any of 23 of the recipes of Campbell's Kitchen. So basically, as they say, we're tapping a different part of the market, another segment. Also, from a market leader standpoint, we want to protect market share. We're protecting market share. While trying to expand total market size, a leading firm also must protect its current business against competitors' attacks. Walmart is constantly guarding itself against Target, Caterpillar, and Komatsu, and McDonald's against Burger King. Oh, Caterpillar against Komatsu and McDonald's against Burger King. What can the market leader do to protect its position? First, it must prevent or fix weaknesses that provide opportunities for competitors. Remember I told you about that? When you have a strength, you have an opportunity. When you have a weakness, you also have a possibility of creating an opportunity if you can get rid of the weaknesses. What I was talking about earlier. It must fulfill its value promise and price to remain consistent with the value customers see in the brand. Okay? It must work tirelessly to keep strong relationships with value customers. The leader should, quote, plug holes so that the competitors do not jump in. But the best defense is a good offense, and the best response to continuous innovation. The best response is continuous innovation. The market leader refuses to be content with the way things are and leads the industry in new products, customer service, distribution effectiveness, promotion, and cost cutting. It keeps increasing its competitive effectiveness and value to customers. And when attacked by challengers, the market leader reacts decisively. For example, laundry detergent category market leader P&G has been relentless in its offense against challengers such as Unilever. And one of the most fabled marketing battles of the past century, P&G won the laundry war because it was bigger, better, and more focused and more aggressive than challenger Unilever. And so that's how it's competitive. Bigger, better, more focused, and more aggressive. Entering the millennium, even though U.S. laundry detergent market share was well over 50%, P&G kept raining blows on Unilever and other foreigners with stepped-up product launches. By 2007, P&G was outgunning Unilever on the U.S. media spending for laundry brands by $218 million to $25 million. New product. Okay. New products such as Tide with Downy, Tide with Cold Water, and the scent-focused Simple Pleasures lineup for Tide and Downy help P&G steadily gain a share point or two per year, so that by 2008 it owned 62% share of the $33.6 billion including Unilever's All Whisk and Surf brands, and had an even bigger lead in fabric softeners, 66% to Unilever's 8.4%. Unilever Snuggle brand. Globally, P&G went from being a number 2 laundry player in the early 1990s to a dominant market leader and a global market share of 34% of Unilever's 17%. In the face of P&G's relentless assault, in the mid-2008, Unilever finally threw in the towel and sold its North American detergent business because they could no longer compete. Now, last one is that we need to expand the market share. Market leaders also can grow by increasing the market shares further. In many markets, small market share increase means very large sale increases. For example, in the U.S. in the U.S. digital camera market, a 1% increase in the market share is worth $66 million. In carbonated soft drinks, it's $739 million. Studies have shown that on average, profitability rises with increasing market share. Because of these findings, many companies have sought expanded market share to improve profitability. Okay. He, for example, declared that it wanted at least one or two in each of its markets, or else get out. GE shed the computer, air conditioning, small appliances, and television businesses because it could not achieve top dog position in those industries. However, some studies have found that many industries contain one or a few highly profitable large firms, several profitable and more focused firms, and a large number of medium-sized firms with poor profit performance. It appears that profitability increases as the company gains share relative to its competitors. In a served market, for example, Lexus holds only a small share of the car market but earns a high profit because in the leading brand, it is the leading brand in the luxury performance car segment. It has achieved its high share in its served market because it does other things right, such as producing high quality products, creating good experiences, and building close customer relationships. Customers must think, however, in gaining increased market share will automatically improve profitability. Most depends on the strategy for gaining increased market share. There are many high share companies with low profitability and many low share companies with high profitability. The cost of buying higher market share may far exceed the returns. Higher shares tend to produce higher profits only when the costs fall with increased market share, or when the company offers a superior quality product and charges a premium price that more than covers the cost of offering higher quality. Now, in terms of market challenger strategies, firms are second or third or lower in the industry are sometimes quite large, such as PepsiCo, Ford, Lowe's, Hertz, AT&T Mobility. Those run-up firms can adopt one or more two competitive strategies. They can challenge the market leader and other competitors in an aggressive bid for more market share. That is the market challengers. Or they can play along with the competitors and not rock the boat, which is the market followers. Market challenger must first define which competitors to challenge and its strategic objective. A challenger can attack the market leader at a high risk potentiality, high gain strategy. So basically, high risk, high reward. Its goal might be to take over market leadership, or the challenger's objective may be simply to wrest more market share. Though it might seem that the market leader has most going for it. Challengers often have what some strategists call a second mover advantage. The challenger observes what has made the market leader successful and improves on it. Excuse me. For example, Home Depot, Home Depot invented the home improvement superstore. However, after observing Home Depot's success, number two Lowe's with its brighter stores, wider aisles, and arguably more helpful salespeople, has positioned itself as a more friendly alternative to the big bad orange. Over the past 10 years, follower Lowe's have consistently grown faster and more profitable than Home Depot. In fact, challengers have become market leaders by imitating and improving on the ideas of pioneering processors. For example, Chrysler invented the modern minivan and led it in the market for more than a decade. However, the followers Honda and Toyota improved upon the concept and now dominate the minivan market. Similarly, McDonald's first imitated and then mastered the fast food system first pioneered by White Castle. And founder Sam Walton admitted that Walmart borrowed some of his practice from former discount pioneers Soul's, Price's, FedMart, and Price Club chains, and then perfected them to today's dominant retailer. Alternatively, the challenger can avoid the leader instead of challenge firms in its own size or smaller or more local or regional firms, which is the blue ocean idea. And that's what Allegiant Air did in that case. Talked about in the case example. These smaller firms may be underfinanced and not serving the customer as well. Some of the major companies grew to their present size not by challenging large companies, but by gobbling up small local or regional competitors. If the challenger goes after a small local company, the objective may be to put the company out of business. The important point remains: the challenger must choose its opponents carefully and have a clearly and defined, attainable objective. How can the market challenger best attack the chosen competitor and achieve the separate its strategic objectives? It may launch a full frontal attack, matching the competitor's product and advertising price and distribution efforts. It attacks the competitor's strengths rather than its weaknesses. The outcome depends on who has greater strength and endurance. PepsiCo challenges Coca-Cola in this way. If the market challenger has fewer resources than the competitor, however, a frontal attack makes little sense, and because you are trying to face them in the same strength for strength. Thus, any new market entrant avoids frontal attacks, knowing that market leaders can head them off with ad blitzes, price wars, and other retaliations. Rather than challenging them head on, the challenger can make an indirect attack on the competition, on the competitor's weakness, on gaps in the competitor's market coverage. They can carve out toeholds using tactics established leaders have trouble responding to or choose to ignore. For example, compare the vastly different strategies of different European challengers. Virgin Drinks and Red Bull entered the U.S. soft drink market in the 1990s against market leaders Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Virgin Drinks took on the market leaders head-on, launching its own cola and advertising heavily and trying to get into all the same retail outlets that shocked the leading brand. At Virgin Cola's launch, Virgin CEO Richard Branson even drove a tank through the wall of the rival's cans in New York's Times Square to symbolize the war he wished to wage on a big established rivals. However, Coca-Cola's and Pepsi companies' vice-like grip on the U.S. shelf space proved impossible for Virgin drinks to break. Although Virgin Drinks is still around, it has never gained more than 1% share of the US cola market. Red Bull, by contrast, has tackled the leaders indirectly. It entered the US soft market with a niche product. It's a carbonated energy drink retailing about twice what you would pay for Coke or Pepsi. Okay? It started selling Red Bull through unconventional outlets and not dominated by market leaders, such as bars, nightclubs, where 20 somethings gulped down the caffeine rich drink so they could dance all night. After gaining a loyal following, Red Bull used the pull of high margins to elbow its way into the corner store, where it now sits at the refrigerated bins at the whole length of the Pepsi Company. Despite rapidly intensifying competition in the United States, Red Bull captures 33% of the energy drink market. So that's their niche. That's the market niche. They're looking for their own niche as indirect competition. And then finally, we have the market follower strategies. Not all the runner-up companies want to challenge the market leader. The leader never takes challenges lightly. If the challenger's lure is lower prices, improved service, or additional product features, the market leader can quickly match these to diffuse the attack. Leader probably has more staying power in an all-out battle for customers. For example, a few years ago when Kmart launched its renewed low-price Blue Light Special campaign, directly challenging Walmart's everyday low prices, it started a price war that it wouldn't win. Walmart had little trouble fending off Kmart's challenge, leaving Kmart worse off in the attempt. Thus, many firms prefer to follow rather than challenge the market leader. A follower can gain many advantages. A market leader often bears the huge expenses of developing new products and markets, expanding distribution, and educating the market. By contrast with challengers, the market follower can learn from market leaders' experience and can copy or improve the leader's products and programs, usually with less investment. Although the follower probably not overtake the leader if often as it can be as profitable. Following is not the same as being passive as carbon copy of the market leader. A follower must know how to hold current customers and win a fair share of new ones. You must find the right balance between following closely enough to win customers from the market leader, but following enough of a distance to avoid retaliation. Each follower each follower tries to bring a distinctive advantage to the target market. That is location, services, and finance. Followers are often a major target of an attack by challengers. Therefore, this market follower must keep its manufacturing costs and prices low, or its product quality and services high. It must enter a new markets as they open up. Then we have market nature, which should be the last one. No, it's not quite. It's the second to last. As we talked about before, the market nature strategies specialize in serving the market niche. This is their own specialty. Instead of pursuing the whole market or even large segments, the firms target sub-segments, otherwise known as niches. Niches are often smaller firms with limited resources, but smaller divisions of larger firms also may pursue niching strategies. Firms with low status of the low market, firms with low shares of total market can be highly successful and profitable through smart niching. And so the question is, why is niching profitable? The main reason that the market niche ends up knowing the target market group so well is that it meets their needs better than the other firms that casually sell to the niche. As a result, the nicher can charge a substantial markup over cost because of added value. Whereas the mass marketer achieves high volume, but nicher achieves high margins. Why this is a specialty that very few people have, and because very few people have, the supply is low. The supply is low, that means the price has to be higher. As long as there's at least some demand, we have less supply, that means higher price. Nichers try to find out more and more market niches that are safe and profitable. An ideal market niche is big enough to be profitable and has growth potential, which is good. This is a good thing. It is one that the firm can serve effectively. Perhaps more importantly, the niche is a little interest to major competitors, and the firm can build the skills and customer goodwill to defend itself against a major competitor. As the niche grows, it becomes more attractive. Well, the reason is because they're not competing directly with the market leader. Market leader has its own niche, and the nicher has its own niche as well. These are different niches, they're not competitors, therefore they can get their market share as in their own expertise. For example, computer, mouse, and interface device maker Logitech is only a fraction of the size of giant Microsoft, yet though through skillful niching, it dominates the dominates the PC mouse market, with Microsoft as a runner-up. Another example is the pet insurer veterinary pet insurance. So they have their own niche. So health insurance for pets. Most large insurance companies have paid much attention to the small but fast-growing segment, and that leaves room for focused niches like BPI. You can see that this is a niche that only serves. This is an insurance company for veterinarian. It's veterinary pet insurance, so instead of like saying health insurance, it's like health insurance for like pets. Okay. The key idea of niching is specialization, as I said earlier. Market nicher can specialize along any of the several market, customer, product marketing, or mixed lines. For example, it can specialize in serving any type of end user, so whereas as when a law firm specializes in criminal, civil, or business law markets, a nicher can specialize in serving given customer size group. Many nichers specialize in serving small and mid-sized customers, who are neglected by the majors, which is like the market leader and the market challenger. Some nichers focus on one or more of specific customers, specializing in entire output to a single company such as Walmart or GM. So other nichers specialize by geographical market, not only in a certain locality, region, or area of the world. Quality price nichers operate at the lower high end of the market. Okay, so this is possible. Again, this is we're talking about, for example, tutoring, ESL instruction. We can talk about a niche. Sorry, if we're talking about under the consulting industry, if we're talking about, for example, um, language instruction, right? We can focus in ESL, or we could, let's say, consultancy ESL instruction, and then let's say we can focus on under ESL instruction. We can focus on, for example, business English. We could focus on college entrance exam preparation, or we could focus on any number of things. General English. right? University preparation, those types of things. And of course, those are different niches. It is understandable that these would pay more because they're more specialized and there's fewer. Because it's more specialized, that means there's less people that can do it. Now, in terms of service niches, they offer services not available from other firms, for whether it's value added or whether it's because of the other considerations that are part of the differentiation. So it could be because of flexibility in format, could be flexibility in service, or the price difference. Okay, so we have different companies that can do that. Niching carries some major risk. For example, a market niche may dry up or might grow to the point where it attracts larger competitors. So that's possible, but it depends on your strategy. You can always be competitive if you're doing it in a way that they can no longer can't do. But technically, they could do it, but not at the cost that a single individual would do versus a company would do. And I used to do that, so I know that. Okay, now our last topic is balancing customer and competitor orientations. For purpose of definition, well, before I talk about definitions, I want to let you know that whether a company is a market leader, challenger, follower, or nicher, must watch its competitors closely and find the competitive marketing strategy that positions it most effectively. It must continually adapt to the strategies of the fast-changing competitive environment. This question arises: can the company spend too much time and energy tracking competitors? Excuse me. Damning its customer orientation. The answer is yes. A company can become so competitor centered that it loses even more important focus on maintaining profitable customer relations. Remember, this is always the goal. Maintaining profitable customer relationships. Getting and maintaining. Now, based upon that, we have some things that we need to understand before we finish this chapter. We need to understand competitor-centered company, which is a competitor whose moves are mainly based on competitors' actions and reactions, like we talked about before. And we also have a customer-centered company, that is, a company that focuses on customer developments and designing its marketing strategies and delivering superior value to target customers. All right, so those are the two parts there. Now, on our figure, sorry, we have one little figure to see, and then one more definition, and we finish off with just a quick review. In figure 18.3, we have a figure that explains the process. This is called evolving company orientations. Vertically, we have competitor-centered, and horizontally, we have customer-centered. Now, if it's customer-centered, if it's competitor-centered, it's not customer-centered. Okay? If it's customer-orientated, it's we either have product orientation or competitor orientation. If it's not product oriented, it's competitor oriented. And if it's customer oriented, then it's also relates to its market orientation as well. So if it's customer centered, yes, or then it's customer orientated and market oriented. If it's not customer centered, then it's competitor orientated and not product oriented. Now, one last term before we finish is market centered company. It's a company that pays balanced attention to both customers and competitors and is designing its marketing strategies. Remember, that watching both their customers and that market-centered companies are watching both their customers and their competitors. They must not let competitors watching blind them to customer focusing. So you need to basically balance those two need to balance the customer orientation with the competitor orientation. Sorry, with product, you need to balance the product orientation with the customer orientation. Being both product and customer, but especially customer oriented. Okay, now, here's a quick review just to make sure you understood everything from the chapter. Objective 1, we should be able to discuss the need, understand competitors as well as customers through competitors analysis. For Objective 2, we should be able to explain the fundamentals in competitive marketing strategies based upon creating value for customers. For Objective 3, we should be able to illustrate the need for balancing customer and competitor orientations, becoming a truly market-centered organization. Those are our 3 objectives. And finally, I'd like to finish off by talking about the key terms we need to remember for our 3 objectives. First one is competitive advantage. Objective 1, competitor analysis, competitive marketing strategies, and strategic growth. Okay. And also benchmarking and customer value analysis. Objective 2, market leader, market challenger, market follower, and market nicher. And for our last objective, we need to remember the definition of competitor-centered company, customer-centered company, and market-centered company. And if you don't remember that, go back, find the video where I show. Now I'll have this. I'll put this up on Instagram, so I'll put this on my Instagram address. So if you'd like to review the text, look at it from that website, you can, or you can review the video itself. Okay. Now that will do it for this chapter. If you'd like some more practice, you're welcome to go through this extra practice with concepts, focus on technology, marketing, economy, marketing by the numbers, company case, and then questions for discussion based upon that. So that will do it for this evening. I'll have the next lesson out next Tuesday. So I'd like to thank you for watching this video, although it is a little bit longer. I tried to make it as comprehensive as possible. I did eliminate some of the case examples in the last practice here because that's something you can do on your own. The focus here was on understanding how it's applied with some examples, anecdotal experiences examples, and how it's applied to gain understanding. So I know this created value for you because you can apply it for, for your company. And improve your marketing performance. So please click like on the video, which is the thumbs up on the video. I'll have this uploaded to both YouTube and Rumble. If you haven't already, please click subscribe so you'll have access to all my videos. Also, if you haven't already, please click the bell button. That way you'll be notified of all my future videos. I'd like to thank you for watching this video. I'd like to wish you a great day wherever you are in the world. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.